Hey guys, DJ Ravine here.
And this is DJ Cotts.
And we have the brand new
Pioneer CDJ-2000NXS2, quite a mouthful of a model name, and the next iteration in Pioneer's Pro DJ players.
Absolutely, it's an amazing player, and what we're going to do is we're going to run through it absolutely in depth for you guys only right now. So if you're even remotely interested in DJ gear, stick around.
Definitely check it out. We'll put this through its paces, all the little things that you ever wanted to know. Delicious. Alright, so here we have the CDJ-2000NXS and the CDJ-2000NXS2 side by side. And one of the first things you'll notice is the dimensions of this unit are actually slightly different. So if you've got a custom DJ booth that is a very, very tight fit for the Nexus, it's going to be a really tight fit for the Nexus 2, because the Nexus 2 is actually about 5mm on the edge deeper than what the Nexus was. And there's a reason for this. It's a bit more real estate for some of the new screen and the new layout that they've got on the unit. Also, the touchscreen is larger and it's angled up slightly higher, so there's a little bit more height to the unit as well. It's only a few millimeters, but it's really, really subtle. Also, what we have with the physical differences here is we've got a brand new finish. So taking away from the glossy finish on the CDJ-2000NXS, we've got this much nicer matte finish. So we don't get those reflections like we used to get on the old player. It's darker, it's a sort of deeper black than what the grey was on the Nexus, and I think it looks really, really professional. We've got this silver band around the outside of the jog wheel, which makes sort of the colours and everything in the CDJ pop, and it just looks more refined than the previous old one. The jog wheel is pretty much about the same, although I've been debating with Ravine whether the 2000NXS2 is a little bit heavier, but it feels about the same. With the jog adjust on light, we can spin both of them. And about the same, and this one will always stop sooner than the Nexus, but in everyday use you won't notice a difference. Also, we've lost one of the major changes, the needle search strip here, to make way for that larger touchscreen, and we'll go through some of the other button and layout changes very, very shortly. Also, in line with the company change recently with Pioneer, we've got the brand new branding on the Nexus 2 player, so it says Pioneer DJ instead of just Pioneer. And also, the 2000NXS2 is just a little bit heavier than the Nexus. It says it's only 300 grams on the packaging, but when you pick it up and you're really working with it, it does feel like it carries quite a bit more weight. So that's a bit of an overview. Let's go into each different function on the Nexus 2.
If you've ever used any of the old CDJs or the CDJ-2000NXS, you feel right at home with this new one right here. So let's just go through the subtle changes between the CDJ-2000NXS and the new one. So we've got the new hot cue section here. We've got a fourth hot cue and a hot cue bank selector here, because there are now 2 banks of hot cues. There's a little auxiliary button there as well. We'll go into that detail a little bit later. We've also got a new reverse button here. This reverse now goes both ways because it has a slip reverse function if you flip it upwards. Now we've also got a couple of differences on the buttons around the screen. You can see here on the old one, these buttons are quite large. On the new one, they've downsized them, but I think that's because the screen has gotten a little bit bigger. Now also the back and the tag track buttons have changed. You can see they're rounded ones up the top here on the old one, but on the new one, they've kind of arranged it around the track selector ring. See, that's the back and the tag track. There's also 2 new buttons, track filter and shortcut, which we'll show you a little bit later. Okay, around the back, you will notice that they are missing a port here. It's the control port for the fader start on the mixers. It's no longer there. Aside from that, there's another little difference on the USB. You'll see there's a rubber flap on this one. No LED, just a little one to tell you if your USB is plugged in. On the new one, it's actually a full color LED around the port itself, and that actually can change color depending on what you set it to on Rekordbox.
Alright, so let's take a look at the brand new touchscreen on the CDJ-2000NXS2. It's much higher resolution than the old Nexus player, and it's much bigger on the unit. And the reason it's bigger is because this screen is now touch enabled, so you can access a lot of the features that you want on the actual screen. First and foremost, on the main interface of this player, you'll notice it's very similar to the old CDJ-2000NXS, so you'll feel right at home with a notable few changes. We've got a brand new phase meter here, which shows in much more detail what the phase of the track is when you're mixing. You can see sort of individual beats and bars coming up. It's really, really nice. And we've also got the addition of these beat jump, which we saw on the CDJ-2000. And you basically press each button and it jumps forward or back one beat in sort of a slip mode, so the track keeps playing in the background, but it adds some nice sort of double turntablist effects very, very easily there. Now this is one beat only at this stage, something that they might, I don't know, will update in software later, but at the moment it's just locked to one beat. We also have the addition of this brand new feature which I really, really like down here called Needle Countdown. And because the needle search strip is gone now, we access it on the touch strip. So if we use Needle Countdown, I'll show you how it works. Let's scroll to the drop in this track. So I've got a marker held on the drop and then I let go, and it will actually count me down the number of beats and bars to that drop. This is really, really useful if you're playing back to back with someone that you've never sort of DJ'd with before. They don't know a tune that's coming up. You can just drag along to that drop and then they'll know when to bring in the next track. Really, really handy. See, it's gone red there, and then the drop will come and we've reset our needle countdown. Really, really cool feature. But this turns into needle search, which was really useful. If I hold the platter, this just changes to needle search, and then we can scroll through the track. This is the same also if I press pause, then it goes to needle search. And the old needle search was obviously just here on the actual player itself. So the controls for slip loop have now been integrated into this screen. So we're going to turn on slip on both players, and you can see the difference right away. On the old 2000 Nexus, we triggered slip loops by pressing the needle search pad, and it was a little bit inaccurate, a little bit fiddly to get the exact time which you wanted, but this has been seriously improved on the Nexus 2. We've got these nice big pads here on the touchscreen, and they're much more responsive than the old Nexus player. And it's very, very easy to get to the timing that you want to get to straight away. And especially with the new quantized features on this player, which we'll talk about very, very shortly, you can get these slip loops in time every time. Also, this is the same with the other looping modes on the player as well. You turn on loop mode here once you turn off slip, and we've got the beat loop implemented there. And also, that's the same on the loop mode on this screen here. Alright, so one question that comes up with these players quite regularly is, well, touchscreen. What happens if I've got like sweaty fingers or someone spills a drink on the player? Will the touchscreen actually continue to work, and does it deal with these type of things? Well, what we're going to do is a bit of a demo where I've got a wet tissue here. We're going to get a decent amount of water on it, and we're going to put it on the screen here, and then we're going to do some slip rolls. So we can see the water going on the player top there, and we're going to turn slip on. So the touchscreen continues to perform fine, and I don't recommend you put water on these players, definitely not, but yeah, it'll continue to perform even if you've got like sweaty fingers or anything in the club. Still very responsive. So now I'm going to hand it over to Ravine, and we're going to talk about track management on the Nexus 2.
Okay, so let's take a look at the track management on the brand new CDJ-2000NXS2. If we take a look at the old CDJ-2000 Nexus, you'll notice 6 lines of text on the menu. On the new one, you'll now notice 8. Basically, it's got a higher resolution screen so they can show more details on the screen. Now, another thing you might notice is that if I go into this playlist right here, okay, for example, I want to see this track, it has to scroll across because it can only display Disco Lights Darren. However, if I go into this one, you can see it says Disco Lights Darren Styles Hardcore. Basically, this has it's got more real estate on the horizontal axis as well. It gives us more words. It makes it easier for you to find the right remix, because sometimes on the older 2000 Nexus, it might not have the enough real estate to show you that this is a remix, and you might think, oh, this is the original track, but it's not going to show it properly. So let's take a look at the new feature called Track Filter, which is amazing. So if we hold the Track Filter button, it will show you all these little options you can do. Basically, we've got the filter by BPM, key, rating, color. What this does on the BPM one, for example, is you can find tracks that are within a plus or minus 6 range of 128 BPM. Of course, you can change that to whatever you want, and you can change that to whatever you want as well. Now, a more interesting one is the key. Now, you can change that to any key that you want, okay? And it will find you tracks that are gonna mix in key to that whatever respective key you put in, major or minor. So if we go tracks that will mix into A minor, which is pretty much every EDM track out there, we can go into USB, go to tracks, okay? And if we press this button right here, a little icon will show right there. See that? That means the filter is on. And these are all the tracks that will mix into A minor, which is very, very cool. Another thing that is very cool is this shortcut button right here. We pop the shortcut button, comes up with a couple little options. For example, like you can change the phase meter to the old one or new one. But what's more interesting is that it gives you a quick way to go into track, playlist, or search. Press search, full QWERTY keyboard. So unlike the older one, which you had to go and search using the needle search like this, okay, that's how you punched in letters. The new one, you can just go, well, I want Darren Styles. Okay, there we go, we got Styles right there. And it took you literally a second. On the old one, it will take much, much longer. So yeah, very, very cool new features. I love this touchscreen.
So one of the most talked about features on the brand new Nexus 2 are hot cues. We've gone from 3 hot cues on the original Nexus to 8 hot cues on the Nexus 2. And these 8 hot cues are divided into 2 banks of 4, but you can jump between them really, really nicely, which I will demonstrate. Also, Pioneer has seriously improved the performance of hot cues on this new player, and they are so much nicer to use. So let's take a look at them. I'm going to play a track here. So we've just assigned 4 hot cues there while we've been playing, and now we can just play them. As fast as ever, like super responsive. The ones on the Nexus I found a little bit laggy, but these are just instant. Also, you'll notice that they're different colors. You can assign hot cues or different patterns or banks different colors. So you can have vocals on green, you can have basses on blue, and you can do that all through Rekordbox, and it helps you sort of plan out your routines. Also, to switch to the other bank of hot cue, we press this button here, and it gives us another 4 hot cues that we can assign on the same thing. So let's assign the next bank. We'll just go back through. So now we've got 8 hot cues assigned, and we can switch between the 2 banks just like that. And a lot of people were wondering, how is the performance of playing like a melody through the 2 banks? Well, I'll show you. So we're in bank 1 here. So you can easily play a melody and switch between the 2 banks. The banks are accessible even before the lights come up on the unit when you change banks. Also, one of the best features to complement hot cues on this player is the brand new quantized beat value. So previously, when you use hot cues on the original Nexus, you were limited to a quantized value of 1 beat. Now you can halve that, quarter that, or go to an 1/8 of a beat. So we're going to put it on a quarter beat value. We're going to hit quantize, and we're going to smash the hot cues. Now they're perfectly locked to that quarter beat. We can also do half as well. So it allows you to play melodies and routines sort of perfectly in time, and it works really well. So we've got, yeah, as I said, quarter beat there. And yeah, that's one of my favorite new features on this player, because you can play along melodies to other tracks that you've got going on. Do mashups and remixes of vocal cuts. Really, really nice. One of my favorite things about the Nexus 2.
So here are a couple new little features you'll find on the CDJ-2000NXS2. We've got something called instant doubles. Now, if you're a Serato user, you'll be very familiar with this. Let me give you a situation right now, okay? I've got a song playing on my right-hand side, but I'm also a right-handed scratcher. So basically that means this deck is occupied. I can't scratch in this deck. Since this deck is free, okay, what I can do is I can activate instant doubles, and it can help me bring this track onto this one seamlessly, okay? So what you want to do is you want to press master on this deck, and then hold down sync on this one, alright? And as you can see, the song's now playing on this deck. Now it's not playing yet, I have to bring it over manually on the mixer, so basically just bring that one up, and then just slam the crossfade over. And I can stop this deck, and that frees me up. I can load up a scratch sample. Very, very cool right there. Alright, next up we've got something called the slip reverse, okay? In the old one, you press slip, and then use the reverse button manually, so flip it down. Gives you a cool little reversing effect, but it keeps the song going, the slip song. Now if I just flip it upwards, it does exactly the same thing. You no longer have to press slip. It's a little shortcut. Also, we've got the 4-beat and 8-beat loop button. Now in the old one, if you held the in button, it automatically creates a 4-beat loop for you. Now you just press this button. And now we've got a 4-beat loop there, as you can see. If we hold it down though, it now gives us an 8-beat loop. So there's nothing going on right now, but that gives you an 8-bit loop. You can see on the screen right there. And if we press it, it cuts the loop in half every single time. Very, very cool. Okay, so as you can see here, my waveform is blue, and this is probably what you're used to if you're using a normal CDJ-2000NXS. Okay, now in the Nexus 2, you can change that into a color waveform. You do that by pressing the shortcut button and then pressing RGB right there, and as you can see, it's already changed the color at the bottom there, and you can see that waveform is now full color. If you use Serato Tractor, you'd be very used to that, and it helps you see the representations of the bass and the highs a lot better. Now, another cool thing is that you can actually change the LEDs on the USB port right here. So we go to the USB button there, okay, and you press the menu, and there's one that says background color, and this will actually change the background of all your menus on the player as well. So if we go pink, it's now pink there, and it's also pink on the USB as well. So that's very cool. Let you customize your player to your liking. So I think I'm in the mood for green today. Okay, and that says your settings have been saved to USB/SD, but you can make sure it happens by going to menu and then pressing save again. Very, very cool. I like a green USB key. Okay, so that was the CDJ-2000NXS2. There were a couple little features we didn't go through, just run through them.
Yeah, that's it. So we've also got FLAC and ALAC support, something that a lot of people on the Pioneer DJ forums were asking for quite a long time. It's finally here. And also we've got a much better sound quality out of this unit, so a nice new digital audio converter, so sounds really, really good.
Absolutely amazing. There's also at the back, you can see a USB port there. You can actually connect up a Pioneer SP1, which is the Serato Controller. Basically, they ripped out the pads out of the bottom of, say, like a DDJ-SX, and you can use those for finger drumming and stuff like that. And because it's got 8 pads on each side of the SP1 controller, you no longer have to mess around with the banks here. It gives you all of the 8 hot cues all at your fingertips.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Another cool thing about this is it's not just going to support the SP1. In the future, they will support other MIDI controllers, so we might see some cool stuff coming out in the future.
That's it.
Anyways, what is your favorite thing about this?
I got to say the hot cues on this unit, they just perform so much better than what they did on the original Nexus, and because you've got the banks, it's like 3 hot cues was a bit limiting when you wanted to put in like a vocal phrase and chop it up and add it in over your live sets, but now that we've got the 8 and the 2 banks are pretty easy to play between, that's my pick. It's just really, really nice. So how about yourself?
Yeah, look, I have to say, like, you know, of course the hot keys are amazing, definitely, but I feel like the touchscreen has just really changed the game in terms of ease of use, because I love the XDJ-1000, okay, and they both have, I think they have the same touchscreen.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar, and even just for the fact that you can now search with QWERTY, okay,
Yeah,
it's got pretty much a QWERTY keyboard built into the actual screen itself. That is amazing. Really makes it much easier to find all the songs you
Yeah,
want.
exactly. No more in the club freaking out because you're like on the needle search strip
Yeah,
trying to
exactly,
type in your track name.
exactly, and then you're like freaking out because the song's finishing.
Yeah, that's it.
Terrible. But yeah, dude, this is absolutely amazing. It's a great new iteration of the new CDJ.
Exactly. I mean, for me, it's like the CDJ-1000 Mark III. This is the 3rd iteration of the CDJ-2000 line, and I feel like they've finally perfected it. It's like, it's taken all the roughness around the edges, and it's just really nice to use, really solid player. So if you want the best of the best, definitely check this out, the CDJ-2000NXS2.
Absolutely. I would absolutely love one, and so I think it's time to start saving.
Yeah.
All you ballers out there, send me one right now.
That's it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I guess we'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah, enjoy.